Previously on Flaming Galah YouTube channel. Today this is what we're going to brew. We know nothing about this beer really other than the style. Let's do this. We're at the brew station into the Earl Grey below. So if you want to follow along at home, 25 carapils because we choose Joe White's. Feel the beer, be the beer. Google anaerobic in the absence of air. Watch to the end, watch me dig through the mash. Here it is. Right, brewers, we're back. All right, we're back. It's the next day. We're going to do a couple of checks. First one to see if we've still got positive pressure with the CO2 in the tank, which we do. And then our temp, 35, so we lost 2.1 degrees overnight, which is pretty good because it was cold last night. So first things first, this morning when I came in, checked the pH and it was 3.7, which was target pH, but then I tasted it and it was fucked. It wasn't even really that sour. So the time is now 12:30, so we're going to do another test. So first thing we're going to do is close our valve for the CO2, and then we're going to blow the CO2 up and agitate the brew, so we mix it all through and make sure we get a consistent pH reading. So closed our valve, still have positive pressure in the tank. Now I'm going to pump this up, pump the gauge up to about 60 pound, and now we're going to arouse the brew. Agitate or arouse, whatever you want to call it. You'll hear the tank go. So what we're doing, we're mixing the soured wort. We're still under pressure. And also we're going to work under the conditions that everything now is contaminated in the brewery. So we've got some paracetic acid below us here. Now we're going to take a sample. So remember we've got pressure in our tank, about 5 pound. I'm just going to bring that wort in. Like I said, we're going to treat everything as contaminated now. So straight in the paracetic acid. Isopropyl that. Let's have a sip first. That's better. And it's about 3.4 roughly. Just let that stabilise, that pH. I'm happy with that. That's about where the other one was. So we're reading 3.3 at 21. Anyway, I'm happy with that. Once that stabilises, we can have a look at that. So we're going to switch our kettle on now. So we switched it on the main and then we've got our auxiliary. You've got to be careful here because we've now got a pressure vessel and we're going to begin to heat it. So every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So we're going to heat the wort and it's going to give off steam. We're going to create a pressure cooker. We don't want to blow our top. What we're going to do is we're going to heat it up slowly just above where the bacteria is happy, so to 50 degrees C, but we're going to slowly relieve our pressure through the modified section of the kettle. So we're going to kick the kettle in the guts. Just going to slowly let the CO2 out now. So this is our modified section. So we're just letting that head pressure of CO2 out. Just like I said, we don't want to make it a pressure cooker. It's very dangerous. So there goes the kettle on. Not doing it anymore. Loose. We want to still try and keep positive pressure in the kettle until we've killed the bacteria. So we're just slowly releasing CO2. It's only CO2. Now we're going to sanitize our Whirlpool again because we're treating the brewery as contaminated at the moment until we get above the 50 degrees C. All right, so we're just going to run a loop. I've got 2% paracetic acid, 150 litres of it. We're going to run it through the heat exchange product line back into the Whirlpool. Let's get out that remaining wort that was in the heat exchange. So now we're going to run a loop, minimum 10 minutes, but we can go longer than that if we want. Let's check our kettle temp. 56. So our bacteria is now dead. So let's go break down our kettle and fully open this valve now. We'll leave that valve open for the steam to sanitise. and we'll soak this in peracetic acid. All right, a couple of things to remember. Yesterday we chilled our wort down to 40, reached 37, sorry, and pitched our bacteria. With our system and most brew houses, when your cold water goes into one side of your heat exchange, it comes out the heat exchange. It comes from, say, ambient temperature, 17 to 20, depending on the time of the year, and then it'll run into the hot liquor tank at about 60 degrees C. So what happens, we've refilled our hot liquor tank. So this morning what I did, I cleaned 30 kegs and got it below the point at which the hot liquor tank will refill. So yeah, the first time I ever did it, I wasted the water, basically. So remember to do that. But yeah, so the bacteria is dead. Now we're at 60 degrees C. So yeah, we don't really have to worry about the off flavours that you get from anaerobic fermentation, because all the bacteria is no longer alive. And we got our pH, like I said this morning, it was 3.7 and it wasn't right. So we left it for another 3 hours, brought it down to the 3.3 and a half. All right, let's get our other ingredients ready. Cool hot dog. Out of the brewery. Yeah, you bastard. This is what we're going to use for the tea, to make a tea bag, just so we don't take any tea to the fermenter. So we'll sterilise this while we wait in the peracetic acid. We're also going to prep the fermenter and then get our other raw ingredients together. We ended up using Mandarina Bavaria. We've got a kettle stability addition at 60 minutes, 250 grams, gives us 5 IBU as well. And then we've got a 5-minute addition of a kilo, so 1,000 grams, 5-minute addition will give us, our final IBU is 9. It's 12. That's too high. We're going to change that. All right, we're going to change that because it gives us 6.8 IBU, which gives us a finished IBU of 12, which is a bit high. So I'm going to take 200 grams out there, 800, 10 IBU. So I just brought a couple of the IBUs out by changing the gram addition. Went from 1 kilo, 1,000 grams, back to 750 grams for the last 5 minutes of the boil, so it's an aroma addition. Aroma addition? It's an aroma addition. Mandarina Bavaria is a bittering and aroma hop. Righto, let's weigh it out. Let's weigh our salts out. We've got our tea, courtesy of the Berry Tea Shop, another great local business. So this small 250 grams of hops, what it's going to do is give us some kettle stability to stop boil over, and it also gives us the salt bay. 5 IBU. First addition. Second addition, 750 grams. 750. No kettle findings in this, no well flock. Couple of reasons. We sort of wanted to imitate a cup of tea, so we want it hazy. So that's the idea behind that. And then less additives too, the more organic the beer is. New baggie. In the no rinse sanitizer. We're also going to take a bit of that, throw it into the sight glass of the Whirlpool. Just because we've had active lactic acid bacteria in the brew house, I just want to make sure everything's sanitized, because we don't want it after the fact, after the boil. We want it all gone. Might put our stack back on, mate, just so I don't burn myself when it's boiling. Let's grab a raggy. We're at 61.5, everything's dead, so I'm going to grab a rag, peracetic acid on it. Make sure you double check that you're open and there's no pressure in the kettle before you pull your end cap off. Just grab your rag, your wet rag now. Give it a shake and tighten up that clamp. Then make sure you have an equal distance the whole way around to your penetration for your OCD. I'm going to prep our salts, calcium chloride and gypsum. Everyone's salt addition is going to be different, so gypsum, Goddamn sheetrock. Sheetrock, that's what Americans call gyprock. And it's made out of gypsum. Goddamn sheetrock. Let's prep the fermenter. Waiting on the kettle. Oh. This is not the cone number 5000. That is. Righto, so we're just prepping our uni tank. Because this whole thing is a marketing exercise, like I said, I was going to make it visible from the bar to see the Earl Grey Sour on there. But uni tank actually suits our canning run better. So it flows all the way through. That's our canning room next door. So we're going to put it here. But remember, it's easy to make a beer, but it's hard to sell a beer. So it was all about marketing. This is another way to sell a beer. So we're just going to remove the airlocks before we turn our pump on. Open, open, open. Open bottom valve. Open our racking arm. We're going to blow that first bit of parasitic out. And we're going to let it flow out the racking arm to clean out any dust or debris. Then we're just going to set up our loop. Yeah, we have done this in plenty of other videos, and I'm doing it again just to show you brewers that aren't professional brewers, that it's just a process and you never skip a step, you make a good beer. You know? Get this shit out of our way. Yeah, it's a long day brewing a sour. This is why sours are expensive. Okay, we're just coming up to the boil now, 99.5. Just changed over our sanitizer loop and sent it back into the kettle. So we've double sanitized the product line, and now all our hot side piping is now sanitized as well. All the bacteria is dead. That's what we want. So we started, I think we kicked the kettle in the guts at 12:30 and it's 3 o'clock. So next time you got to realize what it takes to make a sour. Spends a lot of time in the kettle, holds the kettle up. It's a lot of hours to brew one. They also, the cost of bacteria, yeast, fruit, other adjuncts that we're going to add as well. They're expensive to make. So don't whinge when you pay 10 bucks for a schooner. We're on the boil now. So we're going to start. We've got our first edition, which is Mandarina Bavaria, and our salts. So we're adding our salts, calcium chloride, gyprock. No, not gyprock, gypsum. And our 250 grams Mandarina Bavaria, first top edition, 60 minutes. Righto, we're into it. Now we're going to take our first sample. We're going to check our gravity, see if we need to dilute at all or where we're sitting. So that first addition is a bit of kettle stability as well as the 5 IBU. A small charge of hops like that will give your kettles a lot of stability. It'll stop boil over, so you can spend more time down here and not have to worry about switching your kettle off. We'll try and leave the kettle on for the whole boil. We want a nice rolling boil to eliminate any DMS out of the final product. So let's take our first sample. We'll check our gravity. Get a density meter out. We're going to chill our sample as well, so we'll get some ice. First sample. We're obviously not too worried about our pH this time. We're still going to check it, but we know we're around the 3.4 mark. Pretty hot at the moment, the wort still. 51, so we'll let it cool down. We're going to pull out our hop bag's been soaking for over 10 minutes. We're going to steam dry it over the kettle so it'll dry out and continue to sanitize with the steam. I want to dry the parasitic acid out of it. Still running a bit hot, 31.4, 1036. So we're not going to dilute at all. We're just going to boil off to give us our 1037, which has given us 4.1%. So we might change that, bring it back to 1036. Anyway, we'll work that out in our last 15-minute checks. This is our first time we've made this beer, so we can make adjustments before we package. This is what Claire and C have come up with so far. We haven't got our ABVs yet, or IBU, because the beer's not complete, or standard drinks. We're sitting at 1036. Our pH is 3.3 at 21 degrees, 3.34. So our pH shouldn't change too much. If anything, it might lift a bit because there's about 1 kilo of hops going in. Can lift it a touch, maybe like a point of a point. So it might come up to 3.4. The pH of the lemon, I think, from memory, is in the 3s. So don't worry about that yet. Mandarina Bavaria, 5-minute edition. 750 grams, 5-minute boil, 4.8 IBU. All right, let's turn the sanitizer off, eh? It's dinner time for them. That's why they're there wagging their tails. Are you hungry, boys? Are you in the food prep area? All right, we've got our sani in our blow-off bucket. Then we'll recapture the rest of the sani for cleanup. So we're pre-cooling our wort in the kettle. So we're through the heat exchange, back into the kettle. We're going to pre-cool it, hopefully down to about 90 degrees C. And then when we send to the Whirlpool, we're going to sit at about 85 for 15 minutes with the Earl Grey tea. So you're going to get that thermal separation again. So we want to go over to our kettle and check out our kettle. We want to bring that down to about 60 degrees C because we're going to have thermal separation from where the PT100 sensor is. The Whirlpool pump is not on a VSD, so it's not a variable speed drive, so we can just use our butterfly valve to slow it down through the heat exchange to get the desired temperature. Let's prepare our Earl Grey tea. So we've got our sanitised hop bag. This is a big fucking tea bag, isn't it? Hope 15 minutes is not too long, we'll see. Yeah, it's citrusy, orange, it's beautiful. Make sure you're shut. Couple.
Confident?
Yeah, fucking oath. 66.4. So this is the thermal separation, okay? That's what it is. So we're nearly there. Cold water off. Whirlpool valves shut. We're just passing through the heat exchange till we're hot again. So we utilise the cold liquor. Right, here we go to the Whirlpool. Isopropyl alcohol on the hands. We're confident here, brewers. Who gives a fuck? Big cup of tea. Look out. Cross to the hop stand. Play. She's in. We ended up 86 on your dot. 86 degrees, 1 degree higher than we would have liked. But not so bad, huh? Let's clean this kettle. Nice clean kettle. Ready to brew another sour tomorrow or an RTD. Definitely changing the colour. I've halved or more than halved the dose rate of a cup of tea, and it's only 85 degrees, not 100. Or 86 we ended up. The other option is we dump it in. Well, the Whirlpool will separate it. We're going to lose the hop bag. So I'm gloving up isopropyl alcohol, and we're going to tip the Earl Grey tea in and allow it to separate through the Whirlpool.
Why are you doing that?
Just to get better aroma. So there's still a Whirlpool in there, so that all that tea should settle to the centre, or I could regret it. Could have just fucked it. It's not all floating. See how it goes. All right, so our 15-minute rest's up, and we just put our beak in there and had a sniff, and we think we're gonna go for another 5 minutes on the Whirlpool. Starting to get pretty good aroma there. So another 5-minute rest, and then we'll send it, knock out. Using that low pressure in the Whirlpool to settle out the tea to the bottom. Might be a bit of a prick to clean though. But I've got me back to the camera. Everything's going really well. It's all about the flavour of the beer, Claire, not how hard it is to clean. Snifter. Look at that, all that tea's settled out now. Smells pretty good. We only want it on the nose, not on the palate, not on the tongue. Righto, that's our extra 5 minutes. So we're going to send it. Time for knockout. We are on. Time for knockout. See the colour difference? Ooh, there's some tea in it. Not a good start. It's just taken that little bit that's settled on the side, but that's all right. We'll dump the cold break tomorrow morning after fermentation takes off, so we'll film that. So it's just that little bit that's settled. It happens with hops as well when you do a big hop addition. Yeah, so it's going to carry over to the cold side, and then tomorrow I'll dump the cold break. So usually the cold break you'll dump after rapid fermentation. So once fermentation starts, it's basically you dump the cone. So any of the cold break that came from the Whirlpool we'll discard out of the beer. We're just going to bring up the uni tank that we're transferring to, we're knocking out into. FV10, confirm FV10. We're going to watch our temperature so we can slow down our VSD pump. We're looking for 20 degrees C, we're going to ferment at that temperature. We'll prep our oxygen now. Get our medical grade oxygen ready. We're going to oxygenate our wort so the yeast have a nice healthy environment to start. We're using US05, which is a Chico strain of yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Really likes dissolved oxygen. I shoot between 7 and 10 for US05 on the dissolved oxygen. We just use a benchtop dissolved oxygen meter. We put it through the carb stone. 5 minutes, I've got it set on the flow meter. For 5 minutes will give us between 7 and 10 parts per million. And then we pitch our yeast, and then we blow a little bit of CO2 back through the carb stone. So we got CO2 in between our non-return valve and carb stone for when we carbonate. Several happy. Look, told ya. So I'm a fucking professional and you're not. Clean as a whistle, son. Just that little bit that carried over that settled out. It's good colour too. Coming up to halfway now on the knockout. So we're going to keep an eye on our temp, see if it spikes or not. And if it does, we'll slow our VSD down. We're shooting for 20 degrees C. What am I expecting? A faint smell of Earl Grey and then the sourness as well. It's pretty good. Actually a little bit of tea on the... Take a sip, bestie. Who's bestie? You? Who's my bestie?
Me.
Oh, bestie. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's going to be good. I think it's really fucking good. I think that lemon, we might only need 10 kilos. The tea aroma will come through more once it ferments out, I reckon, too. But we don't want too much. Yeah, I'm heaps happy with it. It's heaps tea on the nose. What's the shit in it? So I can smell the bergamot and taste the bergamot, which leads me to think that we might not have to add as much lemon. But definitely that tea aroma, I'm so glad I took it out of the hot bag. We're getting close here on the final Whirlpool. You'll see the actual tea, how it's Whirlpooled into the guts. So I'm just going to dump the Whirlpool now. I just ended it because we started to bring some tea across into the heat exchange. If you have a look in the Whirlpool now, we're dumping the Whirlpool. So I probably missed out on about 70 litres. See, if originally, you can see how much tea's in there. That's some fucking trouble. We'll give it a wash. Give it a... Not with that open, we won't. Alright, now we're going to oxygenate our wort. Medical grade oxygen. Slowly going to turn it on. We don't want to krausen on the top of the wort, so that we can't pitch our yeast into it. There we go, we're flowing in. Flow meter's on. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Alright, while we're adding the oxygen, we're also going to add the yeast. We're pitching at 80 grams per hectolitre. We're just checking the oxygen levels, the DO in the finished wort. It's in the parts per million. This is pre-oxygenation. So we'll wait for that to settle out. Then we're going to go add our yeast to the fermenter. And we're just going to spread the dry pitch. We want the yeast to spread over the top of the wort, and the residual oxygen that doesn't dissolve into the wort will sit in the top of the fermenter. Just as a starter, the ladies love it. to start. Righto, that's it for our oxygen for now. So we're going to blow that CO2, just filling that portion so it doesn't become dissolved oxygen when we carbonate our beer. Did another video on carbonating beer if you want to go check that one out. Clean up your grub. We're just going to take our first oxygenation reading on our benchtop DO meter. So we're in, the original was in 0, so we're in the parts per billion. Coming up, got good saturation then for 5 minutes. So I'm pretty happy with that, 6.33 parts per million. Close enough to my 7. Happy with that, clean up now. There's my fucking timer. Make sure you blow out that oxygen in between. CO2 now, we shut off our spray ball arm, and then the yeast can go to work. I can go back to work. I'm gonna get in my Whirlpool now, unfortunately for me. And I'm sure the camera lady's gonna go home because it's now 6 o'clock. Come and jump in the Whirlpool with me. I'd fit in there. I'm gonna fit in there. I'm gonna get in there just to prove a point. What?
You're gonna get stuck.
Now I'm stuck. I reckon I'd fit in there easy. I'm happy with how that worked. This is the end of this section, the 2 parts of the brewing. Then we'll continue on. Part 3 will be package, tasting, and we've also got to add the lemon. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us grow the channel. Cheers, hooroo, see you on the next vid.